Hello there everyone. In this video, I'll be speaking about how we can find a healthy, balanced way of handling praise and criticism in our lives so that we don't become overly inflated or deflated by the feedback, the comments that other people are sharing or expressing toward us. If we reflect upon how we've reacted or handled the feedback that we've received in our lives, we'll notice there are some times where we might be easily flattered, where people say things to praise us and we feel super uplifted by that. There might be other times where we notice that we receive some type of criticism, some type of negative feedback or reaction, and we felt very upset, very deflated by that. It took a significant hit upon our own self-esteem or self-concept. To understand why we might have these strong reactions to the input or feedback other people give us, it helps to look at our early development, the time when we're children, and receiving praise is actually quite important. When you're a child, you expect people who love you and care about you to give you positive feedback, to let you know that you're doing well, you're behaving well, that you're a valuable person, and so on. When parents or other caretakers are giving that positive, nurturing feedback, helping a child feel positive and good about themselves, then that child starts to internalize that sense of self-confidence or self-esteem. The child has that idea in his or her mind that, yes, I can do it, I'm a good person, things of that nature. So in that sense of self-concept, that self-esteem is solid and strong, then the person is later on less easily affected or influenced by the reactions that other people are giving them. It's not that they would ignore what other people have to say or share, but they can integrate it, they can process that feedback in a fairly realistic and a constructive way, where if someone gives them praise, they can appreciate that praise and just use it as a reminder of their own skills, their own talents, their own beauty, their own light. Whereas if a person gives them some critical feedback, if it's relevant and accurate feedback, then the person will take that feedback and use it as a catalyst or inspiration for self-improvement. So rather than letting that negative input or criticism bring them down, they'll see that as an opportunity to learn something, to see how they could improve themselves. If a person is insecure and lacking a stable sense of self or self-esteem, then that critical feedback could easily bring them down. It could bring their self-esteem lower because they already didn't feel so good about themselves or confident in themselves. And now external input is coming in. Other people are telling them that they've made a mistake, that they're no good, or something along those lines. And so it compounds their existing poor self-concept. When we're working on our own self-healing, it's helpful to realize that we need to have a strong sense of self in order to be more balanced and stable in our interactions with other people and with the world around us. We won't be overly easily inflated or deflated by what other people tell us about ourselves. People won't be able to manipulate us with flattery, and they won't be able to bring us down with harsh or mean types of criticism. We'll be able to remain fairly centered and solid in ourselves, and we can take feedback in a constructive way rather than let it push us off balance. For people that are around others who have some insecurity or poor self-concept, you'll want to be a little more conscious or aware of how you interact with them so that you can provide the type of feedback that they are able or ready to process and which will help them either uplift themselves or improve themselves rather than triggering them in such a way that they bring their own self-concept further down or lower. When you have an interaction or a relationship perhaps with someone who's very insecure, that person may have a tendency to go to one extreme or the other, not only in how they perceive themselves, but how they perceive others. So an insecure person might put other people on a pedestal, and then when another person somehow disappoints them or does something they don't like or appreciate, they suddenly become hypercritical. They want to tear that other person down. So be aware of these types of behaviors when you're interacting with others and understand where this can originate from, how these insecurities can develop, knowing that they often begin in our childhood years when we don't master that sense of industry, that feeling of competency within ourselves. And then, of course, over time, other factors can compound those feelings of inadequacy or inferiority. When we look at this from a spiritual perspective, we can remind ourselves that everyone comes from the same universal spiritual essence. So we are all innately valuable. We all have this really great or grand potential. It's just that when we've been brought up in this physical world, in whatever environments that we've been in, we may not have received reminders of our own innate worth. We may have had other people who were overly critical of us. We may have had people who were unwilling to give us the praise and positive reinforcement that we may have needed at that time. With this awareness now, we can tap into a spiritual source and receive this sense of self-worth from that innate essence. It won't depend anymore upon what other people have told us in the past, on what we may have thought about ourselves before. We can connect to that deeper truth. We can connect with our own spiritual essence and remind ourselves that we are truly worthy, that we're valuable. We can appreciate our human journey, understanding that we'll have challenges, we'll do things that in a sense we could call mistakes. But that's all part of this journey of life, and it's okay. For those that are watching this video, I want to thank you for taking your time to view it. I invite you to watch more of my YouTube videos and also to visit my website, www.phinsights.com. That's PHINSIGHTS.com. For now, I want to wish each of you a wonderful day. Namaste.